Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to All Praise Picks. Today we're looking at the NBA. It's Christmas morning. We have the San Antonio Spurs playing against the New York Knicks in New York on Christmas Day, December 25th, 2024. So currently the Spurs are 15 and 14, which is ninth place in the Western Conference, and the Knicks are 19 and 10, which is third place in the Eastern Conference. And both teams have been playing pretty well lately, but I do lean towards the Knicks, especially being at home on Christmas, to win this game, and they are a pretty heavy favorite, currently a 9-point favorite across all sports books. But in this video, I have a few parlays for you guys, all on BetMGM. As always, I'll break down the lines, give you my thoughts. Hopefully, if you tap in, we can all win. So these are the first two parlays that I have at minus 110 and plus 145. Um, they essentially consist of the same four legs, except for the parlay on the right side at plus 145 has the Knicks money line included. But starting at the top, I have Jalen Brunson to have over 5 assists and 2 3-pointers made in this game. So he's gone over 5 assists in 9 out of his last 10 games, and in the one game that he didn't have 5 assists, he only had 4 assists. But he's also gone over 6 assists in 8 out of his last 10 games, and uh, over the last 7 games, the Spurs give up the second most assists to the point guard position. So I think this is a pretty good matchup for Brunson to get assists as well as 3-pointers. On the season, the Spurs give up the fourth most 3-pointers made to point guards, averaging about 3.45 3-pointers made allowed per game to the point guard position. And I think this is a good spot for Jalen Brunson to bounce back in prime time. He only scored 12 points versus Toronto in his last game and also went 0 for 5 from the 3-point line. But he hasn't gone back-to-back games without making a 3 this season. So I do think that he has a good chance of making 2 3-pointers and as well as 5 assists. I think that overall Jalen Brunson, he'll probably center his offense around shooting rather than driving the basketball. It seems like he still is dealing with a foot injury, and I think with Wemby and as well as Shohan, who's a pretty good defender for the Spurs, their presence within the paint will probably lead to Jalen Brunson staying outside of the paint and taking Chris Paul one-on-one at the three-point line, which I think will lead to three-point shots as well as the opportunity for the pick and roll with Karl-Anthony Towns, and that could garner assists for him as well. Now looking at Victor Wembanyama, I also have him to make 2 3-pointers, but also to record 7 rebounds. So the Spurs on the season give up the third fewest threes to the center, which I think will lead to Karl-Anthony Towns playing closer to the basket and not attempting a lot of 3-pointers, which kind of goes towards Victor Wembanyama getting 7 rebounds in the game. And while they haven't played this season, in his last game versus the Knicks, and this was without Karl-Anthony Towns, of course, on the team, Victor Wembanyama had 40 points, 20 rebounds, 7 assists, and 4 made 3-pointers on 9 attempts. So I think that he does understand the magnitude of playing the Knicks in Madison Square Garden on Christmas Day. And I think that he'll attempt to take a lot of 3-pointers as well as play well defensively. And even if he has a fraction of the game that he had last time versus the Knicks, he could have half of the 3-pointers made and still have 2 3-pointers and half of the rebounds and get over 7 rebounds. Over the season, Wemby has had over 20 points in 9 out of his last 10 games and over 7 rebounds in 9 out of his last 10 games. And in that 10-game span, he's had 2 3-pointers made in 8 out of those 10 games. So I think that his offense does favor him to stay, I guess, outside of the paint, especially against Karl-Anthony Towns. But I think that defensively, he'll stay closer to the paint because he can guard Karl-Anthony Towns up at the three-point line with his extended length, which will lead to increased opportunities for rebounds. And I think as long as he plays more than 30 minutes, he has a good chance of having over 2 3-pointers and 7 rebounds. And as I mentioned, I added the Knicks money line. I do think that the Knicks have a good chance of winning this game. Their offense overall is just way better than the Spurs, and the Spurs offense pretty much runs through CP3, Wembanyama, and Julian Champagny. But I think that the Knicks have just much better offensive players and have been playing better defense overall too. And being at home, I do favor the Knicks to win. But at minus 110, if you take out the Knicks money line, you have a just about a 90% return on investment. And at plus 145, you have a 145% return on investment. And I put 1 unit on both these parlays. Per usual, just have bankroll management and understanding of your finances when deciding to place these bets if you do decide to place it with me. So this is the next parlay that I have at plus 145 again. And it's focused on Wembanyama and Karl-Anthony Towns to have over 20 points and 3 assists. As I mentioned, in his last game versus the Knicks, Wembanyama had 40 points, 20 rebounds, and 7 assists. And while Cat wasn't on the team, I think that he could have similar numbers in this one. Also, in his last 5 games, Wembanyama has gone over 3 assists in all 5 of those games. and he's gone over 4 assists in 4 out of those 5 games. So I think that especially if he faces double teams and different defensive coverages, that he could get assists pretty easily in this game. Now looking at Karl-Anthony Towns for over 20 points and 3 assists. So his offense has been playing uh, pretty well. I think better than he played in Minnesota while on the Knicks, and I think his chances for assist in this game are I think higher. Wembanyama is a really good defender, probably defensive player of the year this year. So I like Karl-Anthony Towns' assists more. He's gone over 3 assists in also 5 out of his last 5 games, and he's gone over 4 assists in each of those games as well. And he's even gone over 5 assists in 4 out of those 5 games. So he has a pretty good chance of uh, getting assists, especially off passes to Brunson and Deuce McBride to the 3 point line. But in terms of his points, it kind of remains to be seen. Like Wemby has not played a player like Karl-Anthony Towns this season yet, and Karl-Anthony Towns hasn't played a defender like Wemby. So if Karl-Anthony Towns is aggressive with his shot, I think he has a good chance of having over 20 points. I kind of do fade his 3 pointers made. I don't think he's gonna make many 3 pointers, but if he is hot from 3 point line, then he could easily get over 20 points. Um, but I just think that with him going over 20 points in uh, 3 out of his last 5 games and uh, 8 out of his last 10 games, I think he has a good chance of having over 20 points in this one, especially if it is a competitive game. So at plus 145, I put 1 unit on this parlay as well for a 145% return on investment. As usual, just have bankroll management and understanding of your finances when deciding to place these bets if you do decide to place it with me. So this is the next parlay that I have at plus 115. I have CP3 to have over 7 assists and Julian Champagnie to have over 8 points in this game. I do like CP3's assist. Over his last 4 games, he's gone over 7 assists, and over his last 10 games, he's gone over 7 assists in 9 out of those 10 games. So he has pretty good rapport with Wembanyama, especially. And I think on Christmas Day, Chris Paul will just show out as one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. Um, and the Knicks, they're pretty mid in terms of defending point guards and allowing assists to point guards. So I think that especially if he plays over 25 or to 30 minutes in this game, he should be able to have over 7 assists. Now looking at Julian Champagnie, I think he just has had increased minutes over Harrison Barnes, who is the starting small forward. Harrison Barnes has not been playing that well, and I think that Champagnie just fits their offense much better overall and gives them increased spacing. And the Knicks allow the second most points to the small forward and the fifth most threes over the last 15 games to the small forward position. Champagnie has also had over 8 points in 9 out of his last 10 games and over um, 1 3-pointer made in each of those games, I believe. So I think he has a good chance of making a 3-point shot in this game, and then the other 5 points could come from another 3-point shot in the layup or getting fouled and such. It really just a matter of him having the minutes to play in this game, and I think if the Spurs are down in this game, which they are projected to be because they're not favored to win this game, it could lead to increased minutes for Champagnie in order for them to have increased 3-point shooters. So I like the odds at plus 115 for him to have over 8 points and for Chris Paul to have over 7 assists. So I put a little bit more than half a unit on this parlay for a 115% return on investment. As usual, have bankroll management and an understanding of your finances when deciding to place these bets if you do decide to place it with me. So this is another parlay that I have at plus 130, and instead of Champagnie having over 8 points, I took him for over 3 rebounds, and I also added Josh Hart to have over 7 rebounds. And I included Chris Paul 7 assists, but I already spoke on that, so I'll just add more context to Champagnie and Hart for their rebounds. So Julian Champagnie has had over 3 rebounds in his last 10 games, and I think that's just a matter of him having increased playing time. And Champagnie and Hart would be the ones defending each other, and I think it just gives the opportunity for a lot of weak side rebounds, especially for Josh Hart. Champagnie does tend to hang around the 3-point line, and Hart can hang around like the corner 3-point line, but Hart is an offensive player that does like to move around and kind of create shots for others through screens or just off-ball movement. So I do think that Hart has a better chance of having over 7 rebounds than Champagnie for over 3 rebounds, especially if the Knicks shots are falling in this game. But the Spurs do allow the most rebounds to the small forward position over the last 15 games, and I think it's just a matter of effort level for Josh Hart. He plays very well in primetime games, and this will be a standalone game on Christmas Day. but will he have the effort level for the San Antonio Spurs that he did for, say, the Atlanta Hawks in their NBA Cup game where he had 8 rebounds, or against Orlando in an NBA Cup game where he had 13 rebounds? Um, he has it within him to have great offensive games, and could very well have a triple double in this game. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a triple double on Christmas. Um, but also, it's the Spurs, and it's an out of conference team, so I just hope that his effort level will be there, and if it is, he has a good chance of having over 7 rebounds. And at plus 130, I just put half a unit, or a little bit more than half a unit, on the odds of him having the effort level, for a 130% return on investment. And as always, just have bankroll management, understanding your finances when deciding to place these bets if you do decide to place it with me. So this is the last parlay that I have. It's the long shot parlay at plus 800, and it's really just focused on rebounds. I think that both these teams are pretty good defensively, and with this game being so early, especially for the Spurs traveling from Central Coast to, or the Central Time Zone to the Eastern Time Zone, um, this is essentially like I think like an 11 a.m. game for them. Um, but nonetheless, it's Christmas morning. Maybe they're just not fully um, engaged, especially early on, which will lead to a lot of rebounds. So I took Jalen Brunson for under 4 rebounds. I think that with his foot injury, he probably won't be around the basket much, and I think with him guarding CP3, they kind of will just be hanging around the 3 point line, waiting for the ball to be rebounded, so that they can initiate the offense from the half court. I also took OG Anunoby to have over 3 rebounds in this game. The Spurs give up the 7th most rebounds to the power forward position over the last 15 games, and he's had over 3 rebounds in 9 out of his last 10 games, and over 3 rebounds in his last 8 games. So I do think that he can make it a 9th straight game with over 3 rebounds in this one. And then the last two are just for Wembanyama and Josh Hart to have over 10 rebounds. Obviously, with Wembanyama being the center, I think he has good chances of having over 10 rebounds. But if Josh Hart does just come out and ball out, um, he could easily have over 10 rebounds. And I've seen him have over 10 rebounds like before halftime or before the end of the third quarter. Um, so at plus 800, it's pretty good odds for something that really is just a matter of effort level. And I put uh, I would say probably like 60% of a unit on this one at $35 out of 50. For plus 800, it's just a pretty good return for a payout at 315. I kind of like that. So, um, yeah, it is long shot parlay. So just keep in mind that the odds are much higher and that you should have bankroll management. But with this being the only NBA game on early in the morning, I think it's just worth a little sprinkle at plus 800 for a 800% return on investment. As usual, just have bankroll consciousness, understanding of your finances when deciding to place these bets if you do decide to place it with me. So those are all the parlays I have for this Spurs versus Knicks Christmas Day matchup. Be sure to like and comment on the video, as well as share and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for more NBA and NFL videos coming out later today on Christmas Day. Hope you guys have a happy holidays, and until next time, peace.